You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, Angela Yee. Envy is out right now. We got some special guests in the building who just gave me a nice toxin to clean us out.
Good stuff.
Jesus Christ, what is this, lemon and ginger?
Lemon and ginger. Shout out to Nene.
Nene.
Nene, she juiced all that.
She's Native American from the Bay Area.
Oh, okay. Everybody introduce themselves.
This is Rev Yearwood, president of the Hip Hop Caucus.
You're Naja Lone Wolf.
Jossie Ross, Blackfeet Nation, Ogie, Sanadapi.
Now, y'all was just in Dakota.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the Dakota Pipeline. Y'all was out there protesting. Y'all was on the front lines.
Yes.
And y'all got a victory. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Thank
Water
you.
protecting.
Right.
Yeah.
Water is life.
But is this a victory? Like, some people are feeling like Donald Trump coming into office, he was so in favor of the pipeline that perhaps he might try to overturn that. Is this something that we can feel like, okay, it's done, or is there still more that we have to do to make sure that nothing can happen?
It's definitely a victory, and as people of color, brown folks, poor people, we have to count those victories. We have to take accountability and say, yeah, we won, because we're so unused to it sometimes. It's a self-esteem thing. But also, with Donald Trump coming into office, and also with just a $3.7 billion project. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of incentive for people to keep pushing this project. And the company, Energy Transfer Partners, has said as much, that they really intend for this to continue when the Donald Trump regime takes office. So, yeah, this is something that we have to continue, as they say, stay woke. We got to get busy, raise money, and make sure that we're attentive and cognizant that this isn't going away.
Now, what exactly happened? What exactly were they what were they trying to do? Why was it so important for y'all to take this stand?
Well, this the Dakota Access Pipeline is an oil pipeline they was putting through North Dakota. So they was going to route it through Bismarck. But the people of Bismarck was saying, no, it's going to endanger us.
They said, hell no.
Yeah, they said, hell no, basically.
Not just no, but hell no, you're not going to mess up our water.
You're not going to mess up our water. So they're like, okay, well, let's put it through the native and endanger them and put it, mess up their water. And the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, the treaty land, it's treaty land, and then you have the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. But that treaty is, I'm Ogallala, Lakota, and Black. And so this is the Sioux treaty, that
Treaty
land.
of Fort Laramie.
Yeah, Treaty of Fort Laramie. And so we are protecting our land. We're protecting the water supply, that this water supply not only for the Standing Rock people, but all the way downstream of the Missouri River, of the 200 rivers that attach to the Missouri River. So it's important for us to be able to protect our water, protect our land, and so that's why we had to make a stand. And the beautiful part is the fact that it's on treaty land. We can be able to have that fight. We could be able to present the treaties, and so I commend the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation tribe to present the treaty and say, honor my treaties, because we already know America, the government, corporations have been constantly breaking treaties, and so now what's happening in Standing Rock is happening throughout so many other tribes that go unnoticed. You have the Oak Flats. You have, right now, the Menominee people in Milwaukee. You have the pipeline that's in Florida. So you have so many corporations that come in with, if it's not oil, it's coal mines or refinery. All of these different, corporations come in and they are stealing native land till this day. So the Standing Rock Sioux tribe was like, no, it was really the youth, and I commend the youth of Standing Rock. They was like, we are going to run from North Dakota all the way to Washington, D.C.
How far is that?
3,000 something miles.
Jesus.
Yeah,
it's a little run.
with Shailene, the actress from Divergent, and to bring that awareness to let everyone know that they are not going to do this again.
Now, how do these corporations even have the right? I mean, I know they don't have the right, but how has this been happening? How is it that they feel like this is okay to do? What is their side of the story?
Well, greed. Bottom line is greed. I mean, I think they're putting profits before people, right? And I think what we're seeing here with Standing Rock, and this huge shout out to all those who are still there, standing.
Yeah.
Freezing. It's cold.
And freezing.
Yeah.
Stay warm, y'all.
Definitely very cold. I mean, it was cold beyond cold. I'm used to kind of East Coast cold. That North Dakota cold is
17 below.
Is no joke.
Yeah.
And they're outside and they were fighting that. But I think that what we're seeing here, not only in Standing Rock, but just in general, a lack of regard for people.
Right.
So we saw it with Flint.
Yes, we definitely saw that with Flint.
We saw it in Flint. We're seeing it now in Standing Rock. And it's just
And not just people poor and disenfranchised people of
That's
color.
right.
Yes, and that's the extra part because it's also not when we saw in Bismarck.
Yeah.
Is that they will then reroute things to go around where people of color are, thinking that they are the path of least resistance.
Right.
And so I think what we saw with Standing Rock and in Flint is that people were rising up, and I think overall for young people who came out not only for Standing Rock but who came out who couldn't even vote for Trump and then came out after that. I think they're saying that these corporations' business plan means a death sentence for them.
Right.
And so they can't allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Rev, and what he says is absolutely true. Like, it's not a political thing. I hate both Democrats and Republicans. I mean, it's all part of this. It's two sides of the same coin, part of the same swamp, all that stuff. But if we look at Trump's cabinet, like yesterday, he appointed the brother Pruitt,
Scott Pruitt.
Scott Pruitt, to be the head of the EPA. This guy who says that climate change doesn't even exist.
Right.
This is the dude who says like he was the head of he was the attorney general in Oklahoma, where they're having in real time earthquakes because of fracking. There's no fault lines in Oklahoma. They're not supposed to have earthquakes there, but because they're doing so much fracking and horizontal drilling, they're having earthquakes there. So he shows where his priorities
Right,
are.
and that's the head of the EPA.
Yeah, that's
Well,
scary.
wanna be. He's not there yet.
Yeah.
Well, no, but no, that's important. Cause,
Okay, tell us.
No, it's important because first, shout out to Breakfast Club. Thank you both.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Because you guys were leaders on the Respect My Vote campaign. Definitely Charlamagne was actually leading the campaign, but everybody was a part of that process because elections matter.
Absolutely.
Right? Elections matter. So we now have a situation where we have somebody putting people in place from HUD, Labor, EPA, who don't care about us.
Not at
so
all.
we got to fight extra hard. But I do think the one thing here why this is important is because we can't give up. Because on November 6, 2018, there will be the midterm elections. We got to show for that. But before that, he has to appoint people, which he's doing now, and we got to stand up. On Standing Rock, they're still standing up, and so they're still organizing, mobilizing. But the next step beyond Standing Rock is moving our dollars.
Yeah.
And so there's been a huge campaign to divest from DAPL. So in other words, the same companies and people like Donald Trump who invested in this pipeline
Right.
and the banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, we're saying pull your money out of institutions because while we could vote come late down the road midterm, we can pull our money out right now and make that change happen.
Absolutely. Now, why are people still at Standing Rock?
Well, we don't know what's to happen with
right.
Trump coming into office.
Well, we do know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do. But then on top of it, until those barbed wires, those
down.
tanks that are on 1806, DAPL, Dakota Access Pipeline workers, have basically barricaded themselves in so we do not cross the line to stop them anymore so they could continue working. And
Also, free Red Fawn.
Red Fawn,
We have
yeah.
political prisoners there.
Yeah.
They arrested over 500 people illegally who were protesting, rubber bullets, tear gas, and some of those, like Red Fawn, were arrested illegally, trumped up charges.
And then even who you all met, Florice White Bull, that came, she was arrested.
They're overcharging
Natani
like
Means.
crazy.
Yeah.
They're overcharging
Yeah,
like
they
crazy. I'm an attorney by trade. I'm sorry to interrupt, Queenie.
Yes.
But they're overcharging. This is something that's been that part is a human rights violation. That part has significance within the content. We had Human Rights Watch out the other day. Young lady named Priyanka. We have folks out there who are observing this because that's something that's called general deterrence. We're going to make an example out of you so that nobody else participates in this civil disobedience. That's something that ultimately has the effect of chilling a person's right to freedom of expression. And so that's something that is patently illegal. And an example of that real quick, we had shout out to Vic Mensa. Vic Mensa has been out there a couple
Vic
times.
was on the front lines, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
he was.
Yeah, we went out there and we were coming back. We were going to Bismarck for Red Fawn, the young lady who was charged with attempted murder.
Yeah.
We were going to her hearing to show support, all of us. And we were on our way there, and we got pulled over, 5 police cars doing nothing, detained us. I mean, they didn't detain us, but they held us on the side of the road for a couple hours.
Wow.
Just for the intent of creating confusion, of creating fear. Ultimately, there was nothing that happened as a result of that. We Facebook Live the whole thing, but the intent was a chilling effect.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't want you participating in the civil disobedience, and we got eyes on you at all times. And that's something that is the overcharging is a serious and egregious human rights violation. And we have to be cognizant of that and actually hold them accountable on a legal level. You know, hopefully there'll be some 1983 civil rights claims that are coming out there. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, and so everyone they're remaining. As a matter of fact, I mean, me and Jossie was talking about going back, and we just came out 2 days ago.
Yeah,
3 days ago, we was in the blizzard there in Ferguson group. I just got a text from more people from Ferguson coming. You know, more people from the East Coast that are coming.
Bring a coat.
Yeah, several coats. And, you know, and we were
warmers.
staying in a yurt. You know, we have a yurt.
What's
That,
a
You know
yurt?
what a yurt is?
a Mongolian home.
It's a
It's
hut.
like a hut.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very warm. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in a tank top and some pants.
They're cozy.
In below freezing weather.
But
you
but
know?
the thing is, she don't know how to make a fire. So
You know
like,
what? Let's not even go there.
Oh, y'all got to live off the land like that?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nothing there. No, there's nothing there. I mean, it really is. I mean, what's amazing about Standing Rock, when I went there, and I've been in many protests over the years, I was taken aback because not only were they using direct action, advocacy, lobbying, but we was in prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was prayer. I mean, I was blown away by how the Native community was so resolved, and they were just like, we were going to make this happen. And to me, when I saw was that, you know, for my generation, we've always heard about summer, right?
Yeah.
And summer was for our parents about equality. But when I saw Standing Rock, I was like, man, they're not even fighting for equality, but they're also fighting for existence. Like they fighting for the right to live. Like this simple
Just
thing
to
that-
be.
Yeah, just to be, and that just don't pollute our water.
Yeah, imagine somebody comes to where you live and says, okay, we're going to build a pipeline here. Now, God forbid something happens and the pipe bursts and then everybody in the whole area is contaminated and we're going to destroy your land and everything that's sacred to you.
Kill your
You know,
bison.
and
That
what's,
just sounds like that's basic human rights. I should be able to be here on this land that is ours.
Yeah.
That
And just real quick, sis, what you're saying is the thing is the company that took over it, Sunoco, they purchased Energy Transfer Partners. The gasoline, you see Sunoco gasoline where you go drive. They're the ones who purchase it, so don't buy Sunoco gasoline. Damn,
Marathon
man.
Phillips.
But the thing is that as a matter of empirical data, they have the highest percentage of spills worldwide. So it's not a question of if it spills.
Right.
It's inevitability.
When.
Statistically, it's going to happen. And we see, whether you're talking about Flint, Michigan, whether you're talking about Chester, Pennsylvania, where most of the East Coast dumps all their refuse, our communities, as Charlemagne said, there is a trajectory, there is a pattern. So if we just say it's poor people, that's half the truth. It's poor people that have brown skin that usually are the subject of these types of environmental racism.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very cognizant and say, look, there's a pattern here, and we know that it is going to spill. And when it spills on Standing Rock, nobody's going to know about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the history. Nobody ever knows when these spills happen within our communities.
Right.
Was there any truth that they was reaching out to the Native Americans and they just weren't showing up to the meetings to stop the pipeline from coming?
No.
No.
They were
No
actually,
truth in that.
that was actually rebunked. That was actually, I mean, one thing about, there's so many pipelines, you know, and there's such the legality of and how these councils are done in these meetings that you could actually, I could see that could happen. You could miss. But they actually came back and said, no, we went to the meetings. We said that, you know, we weren't going to be a part of this process. So they were very clear from the beginning.
the chairman
And don't
said
forget,
that.
this was a pipeline was rerouted. So the original pipeline wasn't going through Standing Rock. It was going by Bismarck. And so when they go through that, look at those records and say, okay, this is the record for Bismarck. Well, of course not. That's not really going through your land. But when it's rerouted, they were always standing up. And I just want to say this. That's what's important about this election and also with Standing Rock. Young people have said that, listen, we need to transition from fossil fuels to clean energy.
Absolutely.
And so we don't need to have
Right.
the pipelines anymore. We can move to solar and wind. And because the reality is that if you keep building these pipelines that can bust, that can poison land, or you're allowing folks to have poisoned water in Flint, you have no regard for humanity.
Absolutely.
And so what you're seeing in Standing Rock, and I just want to say with with my dear sister, my dear brother, and all those who were there in Standing Rock, and we should talk about the concert, because I think that they, that's how I used our cultural expression to shape our political experience. And the concert that she led, which was an amazing thing, bringing artists to Standing
Powerful.
Rock, which was powerful, which will be on Revolt, you know what I mean?
So wait, so tell us about the concert.
definitely.
So the concert is the Mini Wachoni benefit concert. It's called Water is Life. And it was a 2-day concert that myself and the Standing Rock tribal members, as well as Hip Hop Caucus, helped out as well. That we did. We planned it in a month, and it was over 30 artists. And it was also a roundtable discussion. Matt McGorry from Orange is the New Black and How to Get Away with Murder, and Kendrick from How to Get Away with Murder was also on the front line, was right there with me when they was spraying tear gas and all of that and rubber bullets. So, but he was also part of it. Of course, these two wonderful brothers here, and as well as the youth of Standing Rock. And then the concert was Taboo from Black Eyed Peas. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone came on their own dime and was like, we want to be able to bring our culture, our cultural expression to the people of Standing Rock, and it was free to the people of Standing Rock. But everyone was able to donate on live stream, on text water to 82623, and Revolt TV is going to show this entire concert, and it was just not hip hop. It wasn't just R&B. It was country, traditional. Traditional music.
Darren Thompson.
Yeah, Darren Thompson. I mean, so many other. Jackie Bird, Ramilla Cody, who was a Navajo Grammy Award-winning artist. The artist that you met, Keith IMC, Natani Means, Superman. There's some, we talked about this before. Native hip-hop is so big, but Native musicians is phenomenal. I mean, me and Taboo was talking about, like, let's start a record label of, of these artists. Mamuna Youssef, who sings with Common, Malik Youssef came, Vic Mensa, of course, and so many artists was there, and it's just such a great show.
How much y'all raise?
I don't know yet. I'm trying to get the final numbers.
Well, give them that number again so they can.
Yes, it's text water to 82623. Not only will you be able to use that to donate, but you also will get updates of what's happening in your city on local action. And great. As well as everyone, when the news came, everyone that text water to 82623 got it immediately before the mainstream news got it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, which was really great. So text water to 82623. Shout out to Fahim and Revolution Messaging for hooking that up with, for us. But it was such a great, wonderful show, and I think, like the minister said, my grandfather, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said, one what did he say? One hip hop song is equivalent to 20 of his speeches is equivalent to one hip hop song.
Yeah.
And and Beethoven says music evokes the spirit, and so that's exactly what it showed, and after that was the news. A week later of the news that we received about Obama's administration with the rerouting. And so it's just been that, what he said, Standing Rock, the foundation is prayer.
Yeah.
The foundation is prayer through song, prayer through talk, prayer through action.
Right.
Every time we went on the front lines, we came in prayer. And we always through that was rubber bullets, water cannons. I mean, thinking about it now, it's just so,
No, that's all right.
Dogs, bulldozers, and we all came in prayer.
Right.
No.
That's what made me text you a couple weeks ago, because I'm watching this through social media.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, why nobody covering this? Like, it seems like this should be on CNN, MSNBC. So I'm like, yo, what can we do?
Yeah.
To get the word out, to bring attention to the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to. I think it takes, and I'm so glad you guys did that. And I want to thank a lot of artists. A lot of artists who were there on the front lines. A lot of those actors were there. Even those who just were using social media was important. And so we want to thank artists and actors for doing that. And I think the most important thing is that what you're hearing is there's a grieving going on around this country about how we're treating people in general, from dirty water to dirty police. And there's a grieving going on because people are seeing, like, man, do I matter? But I just want to let people know that you do matter, and that we're going to fight. And what we saw from Standing Rock is that when the people are united, we can't be defeated.
That's right.
And so we going to keep fighting. And I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I don't care if President Obama, he can still do some more things in this process. Make it a national monument, Standing Rock, to really cancel out this pipeline before he leaves.
Right.
But bottom line for us is that we can't stop fighting. We got to keep pushing on and being there for our brothers and sisters who are the most vulnerable against these corporations who want to do anything to them.
I want to get back. You asked a question about the process. So I'm an attorney by trade, I try not to wear that hat too often, but it's something that when these process questions come up, I seen you and your buddy, Tommy Lauren. She asked
It's
about
not my
that.
buddy, man. I get it. Yeah.
And she had some things to say about the pipeline.
No, exactly.
Oh, I hated what she had to say.
It was misinformation. It's a fair question. It's a fair question because you ask, well, then didn't you have many bites at this apple? Shouldn't you have, done this thing? You were given due process. The answer is a couple-fold because I thought there was a question implicit in Angela's question also regarding how does this happen? Legally, how does this happen? So the common counter arguments are this. Number one, it's not on the reservation. But the terms reservation and treaty land are not synonymous. They're two completely different things. So you can allocate a piece of land because what happened historically was a treaty wasn't the United States government giving Native people a piece of land, but instead it was Native people saying we are going to concede to this particular chunk of land in exchange for an eternal promise, an eternal contract that you will never encroach upon this land. And so what happened was there were two encroachments, 1851 and 1868. 1851 Treaty of Fort Laramie is still good law. That means this territory where the pipeline is going is within the historical Aboriginal territory of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. And so that means that unless you can prove otherwise, show me some damn receipts. This is our land. Now, whether or not that legally is the case right now, that's a different question. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it's right. I mean, and so that might be litigated at some point, and hopefully it will. That's a question of finances.
Right.
The second question regarding process, regarding whether or not the Standing Rock Sioux tribe had opportunity to contest these particular public hearings, because anytime there's a proposed change of land use, you get those hidden notifications for a hearing. The thing is, we're talking about a sovereign nation. A sovereign nation, you're not supposed to put an ad in the newspaper and say, sovereign nation, you come to these public hearings based upon this ad in the newspaper. That's what you do to an individual when there's a custody hearing. You don't do that to a sovereign nation. And the right to consult also in response to this misinformation is absolute. So in the Code of Federal Registers, there's a provision that says treaty consultation requirement. It's a policy. You have to do this where there's meaningful consultation. That's absolute. So it doesn't say if I call you twice and I put this in the newspaper that's meaningful consultation. That means you better try harder because you're not doing well enough.
Right.
You're not doing enough. And that's what they did. They did a few, kind of cursory things, a few superficial things, and tried to call that meaningful consultation. That was not the case. Yeah. So in response to that, they absolutely, the Army Corps of Engineers, the North Dakota Public Utilities Commission, they didn't do enough, and so their effort was meaningless in the rubric of this consultation requirement. There was not enough process, and that's the reason why this it came down ultimately to racial classification and racial profiling. It simply was a matter of these folks right here, their lives do not matter as much. We don't think enough of them, and so we're more willing to put them at risk as opposed to this white population because the policy part and the procedure part, that part was not nearly met.
So Bismarck is definitely predominantly white.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
It's Trump signs.
It's almost redundant to say White Town in Bismarck. Like,
and even that girl, Tammy Lauren, is from Bismarck.
Yeah.
She's from there? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
She's from there. So that just goes to show the mindset of the people that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, while in the airport, when I got there, a guy was yelling at me, terrorists. I was like,
What?
Yeah, they yell at. I was at the gas station and people were yelling at me.
She was videoing us when we were getting pulled over.
And they're yelling at me for videotaping. And they're like, get out of here.
Not knowing we might get shot.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. Rev used the word terrorist.
Yeah.
This is something that's happening in real time there, and there's proof of this. That there's something called stingrays.
Yeah.
Stingrays are intended to take away our only cover out there, which is social media. People Facebook Live this so that we don't get shot, so that we don't just end up missing. And they're using stingrays to jam this signal. That's a violation of the FCC. The only exception for that is when it's an act of terrorism. So a lot of them actually think that the work that all the people that are on the front lines, and I have to say that I wasn't on the front lines. I was somebody that was fortunately building with the other attorneys and building on a messaging part. Well, the other folks that were sacrificing so much were getting sprayed and chewed up by dogs and stuff like that. But they think that the work that everybody that's out there doing is terrorism. You don't even have a right to voice your opinion and to engage in civil disobedience. That's terrorism, because oftentimes they think that little of our protest and our right to self-determination and autonomy.
And they are the terrorists because on our land.
Right. Coming to our space.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what's happening in Standing Rock is going to happen is happening here in New York City, you know, with the Hudson River. You know, they're building a pipeline through the Hudson River as we speak. Last time we was here for Indigenous Peoples Day, we was going to go to the action because people was inside the pipe protesting. So this is, and what happened in Flint, and environmental injustice is the new gentrification.
And you have to think they're going to reroute that pipeline somewhere. Where is that going to be?
Yeah, exactly. And but it will end up probably going through my tribe, you know, Ogallala, the Pine Ridge Reservation, or the Rosebud, or
what they said
in South Dakota.
What Energy Transfer Partners actually said, according to their own statement, was that they think that this determination is unlawful. Mm-hmm. They expect on January 20th, when Donald Trump, so your question, on January 20th, they expect it to be business as usual.
Right, because he supports the pipeline.
That's right. And so they haven't taken down one single thing. They haven't moved 1 inch. They haven't taken away any of that razor wire, those big ass floodlights that are going into camp. They haven't taken any of those down. They haven't taken away the tanks.
The militarized police.
Yes, none of that
stuff. So basically, they're like, enjoy Christmas. We'll be back.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And they already we're coming. Yeah.
And it's 87% done in other areas. So they already are still working in Illinois. They're still working in Iowa. Mm-hmm. They're still working in all the other South Dakota, you know. And so this is that last little part. And then on top of it, what hurts me the most is what they already have done. So if they're going to reroute it, what are they going to do to all of the burial sites and historical sites that they have already bulldozed over? Is there any type of money that they're going to give the tribe as I'm sorry, I apologize for digging up your ancestors?
You play with them spirits if you want to.
Yeah,
right.
You play with that's a whole different ballgame. You play with them if you want to.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's happening, we should note that, to everybody's point during 20th, we've already won on several points. We've won because we've made the process more expensive.
Yeah.
And the more that we can make it expensive for them, then they will go away from depending on fossil fuels and go to another way, renewables. Mm-hmm. And so the more that we can make these pipelines, from the Keystone Pipeline to the Dakota Access Pipeline to any pipeline, the more that we can make this and let them see that this is wrong, have more Standing Rocks, the more they'll go away from that and go to clean energy. And I think ultimately, this is the thing, people who are wondering what they can do next, one of the things is definitely they can support. Give the number I get.
Text water to 82623.
standingrock.org.
Yes.
And definitely go to, well, a lot of artists have been going, peoplesclimatemusic.com. We guess you see Taboo's video there. And that will be a place where you can find out how to divest.
Yes.
So if you're interested in looking at, say, man, listen, I want to put my money out of my bank because I don't want them supporting these kind of things, or I just want to figure out how I can get engaged for the next march or whatever, you can go. And Hip Hop Caucus, which is all of us. So Hip Hop Caucus, definitely, I want to give a shout out to everybody in Hip Hop Caucus. Man, you know, it's been a pleasure with the hip hop community. Y'all have blessed me. I got told so much that this generation didn't care. And it's so powerful. It is a lie.
That's a lie.
And I'm just so proud to see all of you and all of us still fighting for humanity, because literally, listen, in 2116, none of us probably going to be here unless you find some really good drugs. And then they hit me up a Rev Yield. But
ginger and lemon.
But what will be here will be, and Trump won't be here, and other folk won't be here. Yeah. But what will be here in 2116, they will look back, and if they have clean air and clean water, they will know that we won.
Right.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line, because water is life.
Just one final thought, at least for me. That I hear that a lot. I get the opportunity to work with young folks across the country, and people try to tell me this vicious lie that millennials, right, they don't care. They're apathetic. that they're disaffected, that they're lazy, and I see so many contradictions,
right.
so many errors in that message. I see those folks. This is the first generation. I saw this poll in USA Today, and they asked a bunch of millennials, what are the biggest concerns of this generation? The two top things was climate change
right.
and racism.
That's right.
And we've been taught, we've been conditioned, like there's this long history of it's capitalism, it's rampant individualism, where you say, if I spill my milk, I clean up that milk. If I don't spill that milk, that's your mess. You clean up that milk. And we've done that for generation upon generation upon generation. Well, that's somebody else's mess. That racism is somebody else's mess. That climate change is somebody else's mess. And this generation is the first generation that says, I'm going to clean up that spilled milk.
Right.
I'm going to run from Standing Rock, North Dakota to Washington, D.C. Even though I didn't make this climate change, I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm going to run that 3,000 miles in order to make this an issue. And so many times this generation, they get called overly sensitive and politically correct. And I do that too. I have a, like, come on, man, you're soft. But it's not that they're overly sensitive. They're just sensitive. Like, no, this is just wrong. Right. Native people or black folks or Latinas or Muslims, they should not be treated differently simply because of their last name or who they are. That's not overly sensitive. That's just sensitive. We should not treat women less than. Misogyny is a real thing. Those microaggressions, that is a real thing. Islamophobia is a real thing. And that's not overly sensitive to think that, to call that out.
Right. Yeah.
And this is the first generation I see doing that. I just, real quick, we used to play a game called Smear the Queer when I was a little kid.
How'd that work?
Is my son. I have a 9-year-old son, and like I tell him about it because I try to admit my faults. He sees me as Superman, and it was a game. It was a football game. You throw the ball up in the air, and then you catch the ball, and then people just dogpile you. And my son would ask, with a 9-year-old's brilliance, he'll ask, well, why would you want to catch the ball? And I'm like, I don't know. We were stupid. But I explained that to him.
Why they got to be queer?
Right. Exactly. No, that's exactly the point. That's exactly the point, is that we took things for granted.
Right.
We took language for granted. We're going to call LGBTQ people completely inappropriate names and laugh about it. We're not even going to think anything about it. And my son, he says, you mean that was actually a thing? When you cared about what somebody married or who somebody was with? I told him about that movie, Loving versus Virginia. It was coming out in the movie theater where the woman, the sister, was Native and black, and she married a white man, and they were going to go to jail for being married. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And he says, you mean you actually used to care about that stuff? And I have to tell him, yeah, we actually did. It actually was a thing. And this generation is so much more compassionate. And I'm thankful for that. So those millennials, man, you guys keep doing it. You're pushing us to be better human beings and to be more sensitive and not overly sensitive, but to just actually pay attention to humanity. And that's powerful.
You want to close us out, Queen?
Yeah. And as we go into the new year, with Trump, a lot of people are scared or fearful. We have always, I know the woke people have always governed ourselves. We're coming into a place right now where we have to really govern ourselves. When we look into like the Asian community, you don't hear about all of the things that's happening in the Asian community or the Russian community. You always hear that about the oppressed or the Black or Latino community in regards to their economic development or governing themselves. And we have to get to that place where we have to do that. But most importantly is that unity is key. And with Standing Rock, it was the closest thing to heaven. And that's the reason why I continue to go back. That's the reason why I was out there for such a long, long time, because it was the closest thing to heaven to see over 500 Native American nations unite. Then most importantly, also Asian, white, Black, so many people from all walks of life all over the world united together because that water is what connected us. That land is what connected us. And that's what we have to take back to our own communities, is to be able to talk to our neighbors. So many people don't even know who their neighbors are. So many people don't even talk to one another in your own little neighborhood. So we have to go into that place, and we are being forced, because with Trump being elected president is forcing us to make a change because we got uncomfortable.
Right.
And the more uncomfortable we are going to become, the more that we're going to evoke change. And so I just we are going into a place of good versus evil. Period. Good versus evil. And I was saying I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. I love The Walking Dead because it shows about how people from all walks of life unite together against something, whether it's the zombies or whether it's another evil, people.
That's why we need aliens to come right now.
Yeah.
And just balance everything out.
Yeah, our
Everybody
star
know we just
people.
human.
Common enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Common enemy.
I'll be with the aliens, though. Our star brothers and sisters.
Lord.
I don't know. It depends on how they look.
Yeah.
See, that's what the white man do. See that?
That's our star brothers and sisters.
If they look like on aliens, though, with the tongue coming out,
Yeah.
I ain't messing with them.
Give him the number again, Queen.
Text water to 82623. Text water to 82623. StandingRock.org. And continue to support hiphopcaucus.org.
Absolutely.
And Jossie Ross, that's JYGYSI, and my name is YONASDA. It looks like Yonazda, but it's
Mini
Yonazda.
Wachoni.
Mini Wachoni, water is life.
All power to the people.
That's right. Hashtag no
Matakiasi.
DAPL.
Hold on. You learned, what's it? The
Which
men.
one I learned?
I go, and then what do?
I forgot.
The guys taught you. Hotcha. What is it?
Hotcha.
Hotcha.
Let's do it.
Hotcha.
Okay, me and Angela Yee.
Hotcha. Yeah.
What does that mean?
No, it's just our war cry.
Yeah, hotcha. Yeah. They do that
the guys do that.
Oh, the guys have to
Yeah.
say
And
that.
then we
Okay.
go,
Hotcha.
There you go.
Thank y'all for coming. It's
Mini
The Breakfast
Wachoni.
Club.
The Breakfast Club. Every weekday morning. Tune in.